Hello everyone and welcome back to Something Awesome. You're back here. Yes, that almost happened.
Well, I'm laughing at something else, but I'll let you finish your intro, then I'll tell you why I'm laughing.
Yeah, we are back here. Hopefully this goes out on the week that it's supposed to go out.
We'll see.
We'll see. But yeah, I know it might seem like it's been a while, but it really has for us. Or it hasn't been a while, but it has for us.
For us, yeah.
You can tell by my longer hair.
Pull the curtain back. We usually record these in batches.
Yeah.
Because they're not ever like pertinent to get out right away. So we record them in batches. We were supposed to get together a few weeks ago and record, and then stuff fell through. And then last weekend I got a cold, so didn't want to come here and get anybody sick. So
the magic is broken.
Yeah, batches. Except for today. I think we're only doing one today.
Yeah, I think we're just one. But yeah, here we are back in the studio, and today is going to be a good show.
Yeah,
especially if you're a Kevin Smith fan,
like us,
us, because we decided that what better way to honor Kevin Smith? Honor, I said like he's dead. He's not dead.
Yeah, he didn't die when he had a heart attack. He's all right. He's alive.
He's alive and well. Well, yeah, we're going to rank his movies, his viewer skew movies specifically.
Right.
And by viewer skew movies, we're talking about the ones that are connected.
Right. There's 8 movies that are connected. Have you seen like all the different, like, watch it in chronological order, watch it in order of release, watch it like there's different
such a thing as a chronological
order?
Would it be?
Technically, Mallrats happens before Clerks. I think that's the only one that would be out of place. So you would watch Mallrats, then Clerks, then Amy, then Dogma, then Jay and Bob, then Clerks 2.
And then in order.
And then, yeah. So really the only thing you would flip is Mallrats and Clerks. Those are the only things that would flip.
Huh, I never thought about that.
Yeah. But that's dumb. That's not why we're here. Also, the reason why I was laughing is because I noticed going back and watching these videos as they go up that every time we start the show, I'm never looking at the camera. I'm always looking at the monitor. And I'm like, oh God, I'm on fucking camera.
YouTube 101 worst mistake you can do.
I know. And so that's why.
Look at yourself.
That's why I was laughing, because
like, hey, welcome everybody. Like,
you started.
He's talking to someone over there.
You started introing the show, and I was like, oh my God, I look fucking terrible. Right, and then I was like, oh yeah, I need to look. So when you go back and edit this, you're gonna see me go.
It's like, hello there.
Yeah. But that's why I was laughing. But yeah, so what we're doing is we're ranking the View Askew universe movies from our least favorite all the way down to our favorite. So from 8 to 1. And quick disclaimer. It's weird. I never felt the need to say things like this when we were doing the other show.
Right.
But for some reason now I always feel like I need to say something like this. Yes, we're making lists, and it's our favorites. May not be your favorites. And you can tell us in the comments or on social media or whatever what your favorites are. But these are our favorites in our particular order. So that's the thing. Like, that's always what I feel like I have to say now. Is like, I understand that my favorite list is probably not going to be the same as your favorite list, and probably not going to be the same as somebody who's watching this, but it's our favorites.
That's what the comment sections are for.
Give us a break. They're our favorites. And the other thing is, aside from one movie on this list, it really is like 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and then fucking 8. Like, so we're talking about 7 fantastic movies here. And one stinker. Like, I hate to even say that about a Kevin Smith movie, because like I'm such a fan of the guy, but at the same time it's like, man, that's not a good movie. So that's how we're doing it. We're gonna go from our least favorite to our favorite.
Correct. Yeah. You brought something up that I fucking forgot that I was gonna say. Over here. Should we? I totally forgot.
So here's what I was thinking for a while. I don't know if this is.
I know what I was going to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you revisit the movies?
Some of them, which I hadn't seen in a long time. So like, Dogma I hadn't seen in a long time. I think the last time I saw Dogma was the last time you and I watched it at my house because we found the Blu-ray at fucking Stater Brothers, remember? And I was like, let's fucking, we got some beers and we were getting like snacks and shit, and they had like a movie rack and they had Dogma on Blu-ray for like $5, and both of us were like, yoink. So I think
now it's worth like $100.
I think that was the last time I watched that movie, was that night. So it'd been a while. I had just recently watched Clerks within the last year or so.
I watched it recently in the last months.
So that, and I've watched that one. I think that might be the one I've seen the most. So that one is like always, that and Mallrats. I can still like, friends of mine used to hate watching these movies with me because I would mouth all the lines of the movie because I'm a fucking idiot. But yeah, so I watched Dogma. I watched Clerks 2 because I hadn't seen that in a while. And I watched Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back again just because that's so much fun. That's just a fun movie. But the other movies I had seen relatively recently, so I didn't go back and watch them all over again.
So you mean, I'm glad that's what I was gonna bring up, because I was thinking about it as you were going through it. I'm like yeah, I don't think I've seen all of them, but you know what? Actually, I think I did see all of them recently.
Mm-hmm.
I because like sometimes before I go to bed, like I put on Pluto TV app,
Mm-hmm.
and they have this like laugh channel, and sometimes they throw on like Clerks.
Oh wow, okay.
Or Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, the first one. So I watched both of those.
Okay, cool.
Really recently. I watched Clerks and Jay and Bob recently. I did watch Dogma sort of recently, maybe about 3 months ago.
Okay.
So. And then I watched Chase and Amy. I showed Chase and Amy to a couple of friends who I didn't think were gonna like it, but absolutely like loved it. Like thought it was funny and good. So like it I guess kind of held up.
Kind of holds
sort
up
of
for people who hadn't seen it before.
Yeah,
that's cool.
and yeah. And then what else was the other ones? Dogma, Clerks. Oh, Clerks 2. I actually saw half of it. I didn't finish it.
Clerks 2 was on somewhere recently, and that's how I watched it, because I was flipping through. I was like, oh shit, Clerks 2 was on? And I left it on and watched it.
Yeah. And Bob Strike Back, I said that. Clerks 3, obviously, when it came out.
Right.
And I've always saw the Jay and Bob reboot, I think, once.
Yeah.
When it came out.
Once was enough.
That being said, should we start off from the bottom up?
Yeah, let's start from the bottom up. And I guess we can just go back and forth like we usually do. Would you like to go first, sir? I mean,
I think both of us is unanimously.
It's Jay and Silent Bob reboot. It's
Jay and Bob reboot. It's number 8.
Yeah.
It had its moments.
It does.
It has its moments.
It has some fantastic moments in it, but the sum is not greater than the parts, because man, there's some parts of that movie that are really bad. I loved
full spoilers, by the way.
I loved the courtroom scene at the beginning, and I was like, oh shit, is this what we're in for? Because if this is what we're in for, sign me up. Like this is what I want out of a Kevin Smith movie. And then you go directly from that to that really, really long scene in the cab with Fred Armisen. And or in the Uber, and it's
Ride Me Now.
Fucking whatever, yeah, same thing. And it's that just drags and drags and drags, and like that scene could have been cut in half, and in fact, it didn't even have to be in the movie. Like it's so bad. But then there's great moments with Jason Mewes, who like, holy shit, man, this dude's an actor. Like he really gets it, and yeah, it's. It's like what we were talking about before, and Kevin Smith talking about why Clerks is so good, because it is grounded and, based on his life. Jay had a lot of growing up that he did in that time frame between making movies, and you can see that progression of him as like a human being with this character that he's playing in the movie. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he grew up a lot, and like, you can tell.
You see, he was a dad.
Yeah.
And he really is a dad. And those moments that he had with his kid were really great. Or Harley, I guess.
Yeah, with Harley. Who wasn't terrible in this. She's not. She's good. Yeah, she's pretty good in it. But there's some really good scenes and monologues and some good dialogue in it. But as a
like
whole,
really
man.
like the scene where we're both thinking about it is the Ben Affleck scene,
Right.
the Chasing Amy scene, the Holden McNeil,
Yeah.
Joey Lauren Adams. Like that was a full circle for Chasing Amy, which
Yeah.
was fucking amazing. Like that was like I think that was like the best part of the entire film.
Yeah. It definitely was.
Or at least one of them. It's like you said, there are some good moments with Jay and Harley in that movie. But yeah, that one I think was one that was impactful
Right.
for people who loved his original movies.
Exactly. And that with alongside the courtroom scene, alongside with the scene where he goes and
I like the courtroom scene a lot, especially with Justin Long as the lawyer.
yeah. And then when he goes to see Justice and finds out that he's a dad, like that's another really good scene. Like so there's good stuff in the movie. And I know I called it a stinker and that's fucking not nice. But there is good stuff in the movie. So it is our least favorite out of it, but I just didn't want to sit here and shit on it, you know? Like that I didn't think that'd be cool. But it's not very good.
Yeah. We don't hate it. It's just
right.
not good.
Right.
We like the moments inside of it.
Yeah, for sure.
So that brings us to number
7. Would you like me to go?
You go.
All right. So number 7 on my list, which is looking at it now, it's weird that again, this is like 1A, 1B, 1C. Like these are 7 great movies. So the fact that this movie is in 7th place on this list probably would be weird, but it's Dogma.
What?
Yeah.
The fuck? Are you serious?
Yeah, Dogma is number 7 on my list.
Oh my god, I thought that would have been like higher.
Yeah, I did too. But then the thing I like about
You said you rewatched it though, right?
Yeah.
You didn't.
It's still just as good to me as it was when it came out. And again, keep in mind, like I said, there are 7 10s on this list. All these movies are fucking 10s.
I get it.
All right?
Yeah.
This is just like a regular 10 though. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard. And I knew we were gonna get into this here because I looked at my list before you came and got me and I was like, there's some contentious shit on this list.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, Dogma is number 7. I loved the subject matter. So here's the part about it that I won't say falls apart for me, but here's why it's low on the list.
Yeah, tell me why.
While I love all the people that are in this movie, this was like, oh, hey, that Kevin Smith guy's making another movie. You should try and get in it. He's got a real big like cult following. This will add to your fucking street cred. You got fucking Chris Rock, and Salma Hayek, and all these major stars, big names, especially at the time. Alan Rickman. Like at the time, these people are fucking huge in Hollywood. But it felt like, well, get in the Kevin Smith movie and you'll get some street cred. And maybe more people will come see your new movies because you're in this like underground movie. Like that's
because this was right after Chasing Amy, which he won a lot of awards for in the indie circuit.
Right, but this is also
I got a lot of press too.
Post Mallrats. And while I know Mallrats didn't do well in theaters, that movie, a lot of people loved that movie. Like people in and out of the industry, even though it didn't perform well in theaters. That is a cult movie. To where now, when you talk about Mallrats, people be like, people who don't know or you weren't there, man. The people who weren't there won't understand that movie was a fucking failure. It was a massive failure because now the way it's talked about, you just assume that it was a big movie. But yeah, that's like, that's my shitty justification for it being number 7 is this just felt like, and again, it wasn't like a sellout moment or Kevin Smith sold out. I wouldn't even say that. It was just one of those things where it was like, hey, you should try and get in this movie because it'll help your street cred. And I know all these people genuinely like Kevin Smith as a human being and liked his movies. Like Chris Rock has talked about really loving Kevin's writing. You know, Alan Rickman was not like, it wasn't like a hard sell to get fucking Alan Rickman in the movie. It was like, okay, yeah, sure. Same with Salma Hayek and all the other people that are in it. And I have a lot of favorite moments in this movie. Like I don't think there's anything I can say. The only thing I'll say bad about this movie is um the acting on the train from Bethany when she's drunk. Because it just comes off as really forced. That's the only, like, if I'm nitpicking, that's the only bad.
I could see that.
That's the only thing I could call bad.
And it wasn't,
no,
terrible, but like I could see that.
No, yeah,
but I can understand that.
And how straight Ben Affleck was playing it because can't drink alcohol,
can't get drunk, yeah.
Right? So like that made it seem even more over the top and goofy. But I don't know, like. Do you want to talk about favorite moments from this movie? I don't know where it is on your list, so we can come back around.
Yeah. We can talk about favorite moments.
So
one of my favorite things to quote on this movie, especially when I'm at work, which is probably not the best thing to say at work, unless I guess you're comfortable with your coworkers or whatever.
Yeah.
But anytime where I was at work and we caught up with everything and there was nothing to do, I wouldn't always say this, but you know, depending on who's around, I'd always say, and I even no matter who or what I am with,
who you're with,
I'm with, I always say, let's get drunk because I'm all out of ideas.
Yeah, that's a good line.
And I try to do it in the British accent, which I cannot.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines. A lot of my favorite lines of this movie are from Jay. He's like, "People don't just fall out of the sky, you know," and then Chris Rock, bah! "Beautiful big titty women don't just fall out of the sky, you know," and then he starts looking around waiting for it. And then that's one of my favorites, just because of his delivery. And what my absolute favorite scene in this movie is in the car when Jay is driving.
Yes,
and he's like, "What gear are you in?" Gear. Like, that is my favorite scene in the movie. I love that scene.
What do I know about driving?
What do I know about shifting gears? Yeah, it's good stuff, man. I love it.
The bus.
Yeah,
the bus scene with them trying to Matt Damon and Ben Affleck Loki and
Bartleby
trying to point out if they still got it by pointing out the sinners.
Yeah,
I like that scene a lot too.
Oh yeah, in the courtroom in the office. Yeah, you didn't say "God bless you" when I.
Oh, not that one. No, the bus.
Oh, the bus.
Bus. That's
a good one too. Yeah, the bus is good too.
Yeah, it seemed like the one.
Whose house runs house? Yeah, there's so many good quotable lines in this movie. Salma Hayek as the Muse is great. Jason Lee is so good in the movie.
It's a great movie. It's a fucking
George
movie.
Carlin as
as a bishop.
Yeah. It's such a great movie. And like I said, I feel bad that it's number 7 having to occupy space next to Reboot. But again, and you're going to hear me saying this the whole episode, this is 7 10s and 1 like 5.
Right.
Okay. So it's fucking 10. Dogma is a 10. And then the subject matter for the time, like, probably couldn't make this movie right now. I don't think this movie would get greenlit right now.
Dogma?
Yeah, just because of, not because it's a religious movie, but because of the way it handles the talk about religion. I just don't think it's a movie that would get made now.
I mean, it could get made, but not by like mainstream like it
right
back then.
Yeah. So that was my number 7.
All right. Well, I guess we'll go into my number 7. Which was fucking difficult, especially because I rewatched it. That's Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Really? Wow. Okay. That's
it
was
yeah.
Okay.
That was a tough one because I like what you said. These are all great movies.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, that's my number 7. Yeah, there's just other good movies in his belt, but this one, it's a fun movie. This is a late night movie to watch.
When that was what I was gonna say.
It's funny enough, I watched it late at night.
That was what I was gonna say when I got to it on my list. Is like, this movie is just so fun. Like it moves really fast. It's another one that has a lot of cameos in it, but this one didn't feel as, I wouldn't even say egregious. This one just didn't feel as like mainstream Hollywood actors trying to cash in on Kevin Smith's following. This one seemed a little bit more organic, to where like fucking Judd Nelson is in this movie and you would never know it was him.
Yeah.
Unless you're reading the credits. Like that's what's great. He plays a cop with a really big fucking mustache and is talking in like a pseudo Southern accent a little bit. Like, yeah, you would never know. And I think that's
I didn't know it was him until after the credits rolled.
Yeah. And that's one of those things where it's like, okay, see, they get it now. Dietrich Bader as the security guard on the movie set. Like,
this is great too.
Ooh, what a lovely tea party. Like, oh man, like yeah, there's so many fucking cool parts of this movie too.
Yeah. The Jason Biggs and Jim Vanderbeek.
Yeah.
Like, don't you know who I am? I'm a teen idol, damn it. What about me? I'm the pie fucker.
Oh god. And my favorite part is where Jay is pretending to be
they take their costumes. Yeah.
But like they're talking through the door.
The door.
Don't come in. Jason Biggs and I are naked in here. Butt naked. And he kind of chuckles. And again, this is the nerdy shit that we talked about with Clerks 3 when we did that review of watching the commentary over and over and over again. And Kevin Smith in the commentary says that laugh is a legit laugh, and that is the only take they could use because every time Jay said butt naked, the way he would say it, everybody on the crew would fucking fall out laughing. Kevin would fall out laughing. Jay would fall out laughing. So they cut away from Jay when he says butt naked because he's getting ready to crack, and they have to cut before him and the rest of the crew just fucking lose it. Yeah.
I like that part too.
So good, man. Butt naked.
Butt naked.
Oh yeah. Silent Bill, right? What does he say?
Yeah.
You're
Silent Bill.
Yeah. Silent Bill. Yeah. Jason Biggs he in that movie is like what Justin Long is later in the Kevin Smith catalog. Yeah. Where it's like you don't expect him. Like, not that you don't expect him to be funny because he's a very funny comedic actor, and he was coming off American Pie and American Pie 2, and I think Loser had come out already before Strike Back, maybe. But
I think it came out before Strike Back.
Yeah, so he's coming off like a run of these movies, and fucking holy shit, are you the Dawson? Like that stuff is great, man.
But yeah, that's my number.
So. Yeah. Okay. So that's your number 7. So, all right. I'm now thinking about this, and it's working great that we have different movies in different orders because
it's amazing.
We don't have to talk about them again at length when we get to them on each other's list if they're later down the road. So I think that's great. My number 6 is Clerks 2. Yeah. I knew it. Like I was looking at this list and I was like, Rick, I'm gonna blow his fucking mind in. And I'm not doing it for the reaction either. Like this is legitimately my list. The
amount of times we talked about how great this fucking movie is.
I love Clerks 2. Clerks 2 is a 10. Okay, just like Dogma is a 10. I have nothing negative to say about this movie other than when I initially saw it and the fucking big dance number happens. I thought it was hilarious. I was like, that's fucking funny. That's the last thing anybody would expect from a Kevin Smith movie is this fucking dance number. That is awesome. Also, I like musicals and things like that anyway, so it kind of fit, you know? And then when I saw it, so I talked about this when we talked about Clerks 3, but when I saw Clerks 2, I saw it in San Diego, Comic-Con weekend at an early screening. I had a Q&A with Kevin after. And somebody asked, like, dude, what's with the dance scene? And he goes, did you ever expect there'd be a dance scene in one of my movies? A dance break? And he's like, no. And he goes, exactly. And I was like, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's amazing. But yeah, it's a great movie, man. Rosario Dawson is fucking amazing in that movie. Fantastic. She's amazing in everything. Elias is I love the character. I was trying to think. Trevor Furman. I was trying to remember his real name. He's fantastic in it. I love the character. It's different. It's a different type of character that you didn't see in a Kevin Smith movie at the time because it was definitely a little bit out of the box, and it was like a way to, like we talked about with Clerks 3, to have the levity when you have the serious stuff. that's what Elias was in all through Clerks 2.
Yeah, like the break.
Yeah. And Clerks 2 doesn't get super deep. There are some heartwarming moments like Dante and Randall fighting in the holding cell.
That's one of the best fucking
And
parts
it's
of the
one,
movie.
yeah, and we talked about it with Clerks 3, and it's like you're on the verge of fucking tears because these two guys are best friends and they're fucking fighting. And he's like, what would you do? I'd go buy the quick stop and run it with you. And then you're about to fucking break, and then, yo, we got money. we got a fat check when they made that stupid movie about us. So like, this is a great movie, man.
Fuck,
And
that's right. That's how they got the money.
yeah, that's how they bought the quick stop.
Because they had all the money from the fucking
From the
movie.
movie.
Holy shit! I never put that together.
He says it in the
Does
movie.
he?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I was just thinking because I'm selling weed.
No, it's from the check for.
Fuck. I thought I knew everything about Kevin Smith movies.
Yeah.
I did not know this.
Yeah, man, it's
That makes so much sense now.
yeah.
I thought it didn't make sense before. I was
Right.
Like, that's just, I mean, they sell weed.
But yeah, I love that movie, dude. The scene they shot at Speed Zone right up the way here was cool. A buddy of mine was like actually there, just there randomly that day.
Oh, when they filmed it.
When they filmed that
Oh, that's
scene,
cool.
yeah, Lawrence was there. But yeah, man, I love that movie, and it's a fucking 10, but it's also number 6 on my list.
That's crazy. That is fucking crazy. Yeah. I saw like in the opening scene, opening credits, where he's driving through Monroe,
Yeah.
or wherever. I forgot the name of the city. You see that clown there? Like I walked by that clown when when me and my roommate decided to walk from fucking Red Bank to the Quick Stop.
Oh,
which is
yeah.
the biggest mistake of my life.
From Red Bank to the Quick Stop. Oh my god.
That was like 12 miles, 13 miles.
Shit,
walk.
man.
Yeah, blisters all over my feet. But anyways, yeah, we walked by that clown, which I wish we took a picture of, but we didn't. We saw it. We just thought it was kind of funny.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I love that movie.
It's like a New Jersey staple too, apparently. Which I don't know.
And again, the nerdy stuff, the stories behind the stories, and how they used a Burger King in Buena Park that had got shut down as the movies, and they repainted it and decorated and stuff. And there's like Fleabag Hotel next to it. And instead
They
of
completely rented out
the entire
crew.
thing. And he said it was funny like to see Jay because he was newly clean at the time and was very like sentimental about things. So he went down the street to the Target and bought like $500 worth of stuff to decorate his hotel room so he was like at home. And it's just like there's some really neat like heartwarming stories.
There's a whole documentary. It's called Trainwreck Making Clerks 2.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah. It's also on the is that on the DVD?
I think it's on the DVD too, yeah. The anniversary DVD.
Right.
Or maybe I don't know. But
yeah,
like
I fucking love that movie, man. It's how do you not like Rosario Dawson? And like she's such a and again, I'm not shit talking Brian O'Halloran or his looks, because I'm not one to judge anybody based on their looks, but she's so good in that movie. You believe that Becky is in love with Dante. Like,
oh yeah,
100%.
Yeah, their chemistry was great in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like it was believable.
Yeah.
Like number
I'm sure we'll get to some more about that movie when Rick's list comes up, when it comes up on his list. So what's your number 6, Rick?
My number 6, I might not believe it, but it's Mallrats.
Really? Man. Okay.
Mallrats.
6?
Yeah.
All right. My list is weird. I can't judge you on your list, and I don't want to give like phony, oh my god, like, but that's especially what I know about you and how much you and I quote that movie to each other, that's 6 on your list. Damn.
Yeah, that was putting Mallrats and going through all the movies again, at this age, I guess. Maybe that's why. Like going through it, like it reminded like it's a great fucking movie.
Yeah.
Like I love all his movies, but yeah, it just doesn't hold as hard as it used to, I guess, for me. It's funny. It has has those great moments in there.
Yeah.
Um, I like the Brody Bruce character, Jason Lee.
Mm-hmm. So good. That was
Uh,
like my not my first like introduction to Jason Lee, because I knew him as being a fan of skateboarding and knowing who he was as a skater. But I was like, the fuck, pro skater Jason Lee is in this movie? Okay. All right, we'll see how this goes. And he's fucking fantastic in it, man. He's so good.
yeah. The soundtrack is fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I love the soundtrack to this movie.
Might be my favorite soundtrack of the Askew movies. Might be my favorite soundtrack.
Yeah, I think I could
Because
probably
not
say that too.
I mean,
because there's a wide variety mixture on that. Oh yeah, I would agree with that.
it's funny because like if Clerks, Mallrats, and Chasing Amy, that first three, music plays a big part of those movies. After that, not so much. So like they have great scores and stuff like that, but as far as like actual like licensed music stuff and soundtrack stuff, those first three movies, like a lot of that stuff was very instrumental to those movies.
Yeah, I mean, like besides like we mentioned when we did our last podcast about music and stuff, like this soundtrack, like besides like Green Day and like The Offspring and like Screeching Weasel and all that, and like kind of shaping what my music taste was. This movie soundtrack kind of shaped what my music taste was as well too, because there's a lot of good stuff on there from like Bush, Squirt Gun, Sublime. Was it the Descendants or All? I think it was All.
Weezer,
Weezer, of course. Yeah, Suzanne. Like all that, like that kind of like shaped my music taste.
That first song, when the opening credits are playing and the comic book stuff, like
Squirt Gun.
Yeah, that is such a great song, dude.
Yeah,
like God, that's a good
Social,
song.
Like Squirt Gun. Yeah. They're on Lookout Records. But yeah, Mallrats. Like, I still live it to this day. I have another quote from that movie that I would say if I'm at the mall and I see someone on the escalator, the kid is back on the escalator again.
Dude, I say that everywhere. Like
anytime you see an escalator.
It doesn't even have to be an escalator. Anytime I see like
kid being shitty.
My wife works at Disney. Anytime I'm at Disney and I see a kid being shitty and a parent not doing something, I'll look at Alexa and I'll be like, that kid is back on the fucking escalator again. And I'll say it loud too. Like I don't whisper it. Nobody ever gets it, which is fine with me. But like, yeah, and we do that to each other all the time. We will use that quote, like, you're not supposed to sit on the handrails at amusement parks because you could fall and get hurt and sue the company or whatever. So anytime I see a kid on the handrail goofing off, and that kid is back on the fucking handrail again. But yeah, man, Mallrats number 6. Okay. Let's see what you're doing here. All right, so let's get to my number 5. My number 5 is Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Crack the top 5. And again, like I mentioned when you talked about it on your list, the reason why this movie gets into the number 5 spot is because of how fun it is. You can show this movie to anyone, whether they're a fan of Kevin Smith or not, and it's just a fun movie. Like, I'm gonna use a line Kevin Smith uses a lot. He talks like when he writes a joke, he goes, "Oh man, I could tell my mom that joke." Like I feel like, and yes, there's some. This movie isn't as quote unquote raunchy comedy as like, Amy, Mallrats, and Clerks, but it does have some dirty jokes in it. But like, this is a movie you could show your grandma and like she would laugh at things. It's a fun movie. Like, yeah,
it's a cartoon, a living cartoon.
Exactly.
Which fucking Scooby-Doo's in it.
Yeah. But yeah, like when he gets stuck and he's like, just like Winnie the Pooh, like all these little lines and stuff, like all these little things. It's a fantastic movie, and it's number 5. And for all the reasons with Dawson and the pie fucker and all that stuff we talked about when it was on your list, it's like that's why it gets high on my list, because it's so infinitely quotable.
That's why it was hard between the Jay and Bob. Like I could have switched
Mhm.
to Jay and Bob straight back in Mallrats.
Yeah.
Like those could intertwine easily.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I love that movie. That's my number 5. We could go on for hours about each individual thing,
Yeah.
but it does. We already talked about it, so.
All right. My number 5. I don't know why I'm looking at it. What it is? Clerks. Clerks.
The first
The
Clerks
first Clerks
is number 5.
It's number.
Oh my
Wait,
god!
did I pick the right one? Yeah.
All right.
Which again, this could be interchangeable with the next movie
Okay. Clerks, huh?
on my list.
Wow. I love this movie.
I mean, this movie started it all.
Yeah. Did you see this movie first, or was this your first Kevin Smith
I saw
movie?
Clerks first, so
Okay.
I actually watched Clerks, because of someone in my class was talking about this, and like everyone says, it's a black and white movie, but it's funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, and then after that, like, I saw Mallrats on television,
Mhm.
which again, like I didn't know it was Kevin Smith at the time. You know, it wasn't until like I started putting the puzzle pieces together.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I watched Clerks first.
I remember hearing about Clerks because they did like some special on MTV with Kevin Smith.
I did.
Where they shot it in black and white. They shot the special in black and white and
Special
everything.
stuff in black and white. I've seen some of it on YouTube. Yeah.
And he talks about how they wanted to give him an NC-17 rating for when he puts the porno up on the thing. And they're like, why? It's a picture. And he fought for it. And he said he had no right to be fighting for it at the time. But
his first movie, yeah.
Yeah. I did not see Clerks first. We talked about this.
Yeah,
I saw Mallrats first and then went back and saw Clerks. But I knew about Clerks before I saw Mallrats. But yeah. That was at a time where I mean, you know me for a long time. You know how I am. Like when I like something, I get really fucking deep and I want to know everything about who did that or who made it, who's in it and stuff. So, but yeah, man, Clerks at number 5. That's
Also some of like my favorite parts in that is the Death Star conversation.
Yeah,
probably one of my favorite conversations.
I remember seeing that and I was like, man, this is some nerdy shit to be in this movie, to be in a movie. Like, and again, you go and you listen to commentaries and you listen to Kevin Smith talk about it, and he's like, it's exactly why we put it there, because he always said, like, I never felt like people made movies for me. I wanted to make a movie for me. And like that's
how me and my friend at the time thought, like this is what we do. We talk about that stupid shit.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, man, like again, all the fucking the stuff in that when I can't remember who Dante yells at, but he yells at somebody and they leave, and you hear Jay go, "Yeah," and he goes, "Shut up," and then it comes back in, and the whole line.
Randall?
Yeah,
Randall,
yeah.
I don't appreciate your ruse, man.
Yeah.
You're cutting an attempt to trick me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You know what do you say? You know, go fuck you. Yeah.
Hey,
shut up.
You're not allowed to rent here anymore.
Yeah, you're not allowed to rent here anymore. That's what it is. I love that shit, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's the 37, we talked about that before, and that story, and it's like, oh my god, who writes this shit? Who talks like this? But yeah, man,
I think I've mentioned this before. Like I was watching it with my dad because I got my dad to rent it for me.
Yeah,
it was rated R, and then when we got to that 37 part, he was like, "What the fuck did I get you?" And he walks out and just stops watching it.
Like it's not even that bad. It's just, you know, it's dirt. Like it's you know,
funny.
raunchy quotes, air quotes. Yeah. But yeah, man, there's just so much great shit about that movie. And again, that's another one that listening to the commentary.
And listening to like the way that he put his first movie together too.
Yeah. How he was in film school and he met Scott Mosier and he hated it. So he dropped out and started writing Clerks. And then Mosier finished film school and then like, all right, let's make this movie. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, whoever gets done with their script first will help the other one make the movie. Like, that's fucking cool, man. Like, you don't.
I mean, that's how Mosier learned he was more of a producer.
Yeah. You don't get a lot of stories like that out of Hollywood.
Because I mean, Chasing Amy was technically his movie. That's Mosier.
Yeah. And yeah, that's like, I guess Mallrats, you see like the ties of Clerks because Julie Dwyer and all that stuff. But then
Yeah.
like with Chasing Amy, like I think that's really where it like, oh shit, is he making?
It's like it
He's
came
making
full
a
circle,
universe. He's making a fucking universe. This is so weird because again, this
The
is
viewer skew universe.
25 years, well 30 years in some respects now before Marvel was doing this. Like Kevin Smith was making a universe of movies, you know, and it's really cool. And Clerks was the one that started it all.
Yeah, and his reason was because like he wanted to connect them because of comic books.
Yeah,
Because how comic books do crossover episodes or crossover issues.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was his like thing that he wanted to see in movies, so he did it. Yeah, Clerks.
All right. My number 4 is Mallrats. We talked about it already.
Yeah.
I love Mallrats. This was the first one I saw, first Kevin Smith movie I saw, and we talked about this a little bit on the Clerks 3 episode, so go check that out if you haven't yet, but I want to bring it up again here. This is one of my favorite TV cuts of a movie to watch because it's so bad. Like
It's terrible, which is how I first saw it. It's so bad,
man.
This is an R-rated movie.
Yeah. And then hearing how what the original open to the movie was supposed to be, and
It was like 20 minutes long
with a fucking nice big boom crane shot, and like he's like, I'm making a movie, and then they're like, this is really bad, we got to do something else. And then that's when they get the stuff in front of her house, and it's in front of Brandy's house, and it's so funny that like if you see, because that's on the one of the DVD, like the dual disc anniversary DVD or whatever,
I have it.
that opens, and it's like, oh, like, and there's funny stuff that they had to ADR that you can tell are just really poorly ADR'd later in the movie. Like when they're walking through the parking lot, and the guy goes, "Hey, aren't you the guy that broke up with Brandy Svenning?" And it's like, then he punches him, and it's like, no, aren't you the guy that shot the mayor? But they had to cover it, and it's just like the worst fucking ADR. But it's the Easter Bunny stuff and the Willem stuff and the fucking. I love at the end, like, because it's very Fast Times at Ridgemont High, like that, or Porky's, like those with like all the like what they're doing now, and it says Willem finally saw the sailboat. He goes,
"Yeah,
really?"
Oh yeah.
And then the fucking and again, this is a cartoon. Like the whole time he's trying to move the cigarette with the Jedi mind trick, and
it finally works to grab the tape.
Yeah, to get the tape. And how'd you get the tape? And he goes, no fucking way, motherfucking Yoda and shit. Like, yeah, it's so good. And then that is like, I think that's my favorite Silent Bob line. Because action, adventure, Jedi craves not these things. I actually used that line a few nights ago. Like in a casual conversation because I'm a fucking nerd. But yeah, I think that's my favorite Kevin Smith or Silent Bob line from one of the movies. But yeah, man, Mallrats is number 4 for me. I fucking love that movie. That's one that's like, I love when it's on TV, because if it's on TV and I see it, and no matter where it is in the movie, I watch it just because I love how bad that TV cut is. Yeah. Like, it's so funny, man. I love it. It makes a funny movie unintentionally even funnier. And yeah, so that's my number 4.
My number 4 is Clerks 3.
Really?
Yes.
That's your number 4. All right. We did a whole episode about this.
Yeah, you can go check out that episode. I'm not gonna say other that's my justification for it.
Yeah.
Is I did watch it 3 times now. Still fucking hits me hard.
Me too. I've watched it 3 times also.
Yeah. It's a great movie, but there are some parts in there that are still kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's just because it's the third watch in such a close amount of time. It felt kind of forced. Again, I love this movie. I'm not saying it's bad or anything.
Wow, Rick, you just called Clerks a piece of shit. You called Clerks 3 a shitty movie. Wow.
No. I love this movie. And it was tough to put this here.
Yeah.
It was really tough to put this here. But it's a great movie. Go see our review. That's all I'm gonna say. Go see a review.
But
that's pretty much like the
your reasoning.
The reasoning for it. Yeah.
Okay. What we'll talk about it. We'll get there. All right, we'll just keep moving right along then, since we have a whole episode.
Yeah. Link in the description.
My number 3 is Clerks 1. Is number 3 on my list. For all the reasons we've already covered about Clerks. This being a movie I saw when I was a teenager, 15, 14 maybe, 15?
Probably.
Something like that. So, like, again, I was at the right age to see this movie when I saw it, you know? Being a fucking angry, angsty teenager, kind of a sad bitch too. Like, this was like the perfect movie for me at the perfect time. And
I guess also if like, cause like it was kind of like during when we were in high school, or you know, at least when we saw, cause like we didn't say when it came out.
Right.
High school seems to be like when everyone seems to hear about it or find it. I don't know if you were working, but I was also working at the time too, so it was kind of fun watching Clerks.
Oh no, no.
Yeah, I was. I think I was working at Domino's.
Gotcha.
When it came out, so then, so it was very relatable in a sense as well too. Watching the first. Got it.
Yeah, I think so. This might be the first movie where, they have a very problematic friendship. Dante and Randall relationship is very problematic. Very it's either one way or the other, you know. But that being said, this was probably the first movie I saw where I was like, oh man, I want a friend like that. I need a friend that I can, you know, no matter what happens, is going to be by my side. And you get that even in Clerks 1. Like, no matter what happens, Dante and Randall always have each other's back in that movie. Like, to the point where Randall breaks up with Marilyn Gigliotti for Dante. He's like, why'd you fucking do that? And he's like, yeah, well, you know, you're over here talking about Caitlyn, so I thought I'd let her off easy. And it's like,
you a favor.
Right, I'm doing you a favor. And it's, yeah, and again, it's problematic, but at the same time, like, Randall has Dante's back all the time. As much as, like, shit never goes right, the thing about Randall is his heart's always in the right place.
His execution is just not great.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny, like, we talked about it on Clerks 3. It's like, I have a friend like that now. Like, Rick is my fucking Dante, like, 100%. Because I don't think I could be anything other than a Randall as a friend. Yeah, I may not be perfect, but my heart's always in the right place, always. So yeah, that's why this is number 3. It's one of my favorite for a long time.
That's a great number 3 though. Yeah.
For a long time, I just was like, man, like that's a fucking real friendship right there, you know?
Yeah. All right, my number 3. Kind of putting the nail in the coffin here is to figure out what the rest are.
Yeah.
But it's Dogma.
Okay.
And honestly, I'm surprised how high I put it.
I expected this to be higher on your list, if I'm being honest. Like,
it could have been. Like, honestly, like this next 1, 2, 3 could all be number 1.
Yeah.
Same. It's like, how do you fucking pick? But yeah, Dogma, my favorite thing to quote, as I mentioned. Just also, I think too, because me being raised in such a religious household, I was not Catholic per se, Christian. But knowing a lot about, you know, Catholicism because my dad was Catholic.
Right.
But he never forced me to go to his Catholic church. But like knowing about the I would say history, theology,
history, whatever
you want to call it. Like, I thought it was interesting. Like, it opened you doors.
This will piss people off. The lore
behind the religion, the fantasy behind this book, is, you know, kind of amazing too. Sometimes, I don't know. Seriously, I don't believe that personally myself, but like, it's like the history. of it, like the world building. But
8 days. All right.
okay,
All
okay.
right. Enough making fun.
But yeah, what I'm trying to say is like it was relatable, I guess. In a sense.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Not to say I can relate to any of the characters, but just like like I said, theology about it, like the whole thing about it, and the cast.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, I thought the cast was fucking amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Perfect.
And again, I didn't want that to sound like I was knocking it.
Yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
But
I don't have that same feeling. Like the way you put it. Like fucking Janine Garofalo. Yeah, Alanis Morissette is his fucking god. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fantastic movie, especially with the way it ends. One of Jay's lines at the end where he says, "Oh, we should make a quick stop." Like I don't know why I love that part.
Yeah.
It was like, "Oh my god, they crossed over."
Yeah.
You know.
I love the
Fun fact too, real quick. That was supposed to be the first Kevin Smith movie I saw in theaters, but I didn't go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I saw
it. It was rated R, and it came out in 1989.
Yeah, I saw it when it came out in theaters.
Yeah, first movie
with a buddy of mine in high school.
Yeah, me and my friend from high school, we were supposed to go see it, but I think it was after we got kicked out or kicked or banned from the theater. Yeah, because we snuck in to see or movie hopped.
Ooh, bad Rick.
To see what Dawson movie, Varsity Blues.
Varsity Blues, love that movie. That we need to write that down on the list. By the way, we got to do an episode about it. Right, but we got to do an episode about Varsity Blues.
But yeah, and Jay Silent Bob Strike Back was the first.
Yeah, I love Dogma, man. Like I said earlier, for all the same reasons you love that movie, and how one of my favorite lines in that movie, aside from gear, just because of Jay's delivery, is when they are in the bar. He's like, "How do you make a holy bartender?"
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And then like it's dead silent, and everybody's like, "Oh my god!" And then holy bartender, I get it. It's the fucking great one. Like just Jay's timing is so good.
The whole bar scene was just amazing.
Yeah.
Like holy shit, Silent Bob's an instrument of God. Yeah,
he said it himself. I'm a fucking demon. Like, and then Jason Lee's got so many good lines in that movie because he's like, "No sin, no rapture is greater than sensual air." like just stuff like that. Like, yeah, big fan of that movie. Big fan of that movie. You wouldn't know it by looking at my list because it's number 7, but yeah. All right.
So now with number 2, should this basically be number 1 of 1, 1 of 2?
All of these are like that. So, my number 2 is Clerks 3. I absolutely
I had a feeling.
Love that movie. But this could be number 1. I think that as more time passes, and even for some reason, apparently I hate myself, and I've watched it 3 times in the last few months. But I think as time passes, this might flip and be number 1, and number 1 might be number 2. But man, Clerks 3, like we said earlier, we have a whole episode about that movie, and I don't think I'm super nitpicky about it on that episode because it was fresh. I understand about the feeling forced stuff. I don't know what exactly you're talking about.
The NFT stuff.
Okay. So, all right, I get that.
Because like he was heavy into NFTs and stuff. And I don't know, so it kind of felt like something forced out of it.
Gotcha.
Funny though, like
I also felt like he was making fun of it though at the same time, you know? He was making fun of the weird NFT peoples, but I totally understand. I think the part of this movie that, as good as it is, that comes off a little forced is the very beginning of the scene with, again, spoilers, the very beginning of the scene with Dante and Becky in the cemetery. Like,
I thought it was fantastic.
It is, but Brian O'Halloran reels it in. But at first few lines don't come off as like he's got his A game on. But he reels it in, and that whole scene is fantastic. But yeah, that's the only thing that felt a little bit forced to me was like the very beginning of that scene. Like the very reaction to seeing her there. But after that, like again, and he's fantastic in the movie. He fucking goes all in and goes hard and it's again, I said it on that episode. I was like, it's a shame that he wasn't in more stuff. Because he's so good. Same with Jeff Anderson. It's a shame that these guys weren't in more things. Because they're so good, and maybe they're only good as these characters. I don't know. Maybe they're not.
Well, like I voxed you like not too long ago, where I forgot that guy. How am I forgetting his name? Guy who plays Randall.
Jeff Anderson.
Jeff Anderson. Sorry, was in Zack and Mary. I totally forgot he was in that movie.
Yeah, as the director the camera operator.
Yeah, and I rewatched that movie, and freaking great.
Yeah, he's really good in that
really
too.
Good actor.
I'm going to use this as a chance to we're going to add another list or another topic to the lists, our podcast episode list. But have you seen his movie?
Jeff Anderson?
Yeah, it's called Now You Know. Trevor Furman is in it. Him and Trevor Furman star in it.
Shit, no.
He wrote it and directed it, and it's very good.
I'm gonna have to watch it. I had no idea.
Very, very good. It's called Now You Know. I'll see if it's streaming anywhere. I'll send you a link. But yeah, it's very, very good. We got to add that to the list too. I had that on here on my list as like extended, just like that movie that Jason Lee is in that Kevin produced, Drawing Flies.
Oh yeah,
not a good movie.
Never saw it.
Jason Lee's fantastic in it. Not a good movie. But I have like
Vulgar.
I've never seen Vulgar.
Yeah,
that's one I need to see. But yeah, like yeah, Jeff Anderson's great, and like and you see the movie Now You Know, and it's kind of like this could have been a Kevin Smith movie, like with the way it's written, almost like the Chasing Amy style of Kevin Smith movie. It's very, very good. You guys should check it out if you haven't. Now You Know, Trevor Furman, Jeff Anderson, really good. But yeah, Clerks 3 is my number 2. It's fucking fantastic. We have an entire episode of me gushing and blubbering and crying about it, so you can check that out.
These next ones are my number ones. I
hear you.
I couldn't. It was difficult to pick.
Mm-hmm.
But my number 2, Chasing Amy.
Ooh, that's your number 2?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But technically, it's still number 1 for me. But yeah, rewatching it. Still a great movie. You know, but there's some things in there too at the same time where it's like in current present day, it's like kind of like, dude, get over yourself.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair.
But again, like I said, I think it could be because we're older. That could be another reason why. Because when I watched this, I've watched this many different times from when I was in my teens to 20s and 30s. And the last time I probably saw this movie was in my like late 20s, maybe early 30s. Yeah. I want to say
this is my most watched Kevin Smith movie for sure.
Oh, for sure. Like I've seen this movie so many times, but like it's definitely been a minute since I've watched Chasing Amy.
Mm-hmm.
And rewatching it now, it's like I don't know. I guess it's just because I'm older now. It's like realizing like who cares how many people she's been with? Like who gives a fuck?
Right. But it's very fucking narcissistic and egotistical.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
And like. Yeah, that's the way he pretty much acts like the entire movie, which is him, like he's supposed to be in his 20s in this film, I feel like. Yeah. You know, and in my 20s, I probably would have been the same way too, which is probably why I liked it a lot. Mm-hmm. I still like it a lot. I don't know why I'm saying like in that sense. But yeah, I think that's the only reason why it's kind of shifted is because of that.
I think the thing about it that's fantastic is like the ride you go on with the Ben Affleck character, like just the ride you go on with that character. It's like, oh wow, okay. Especially like you said, in the different eras of watching that movie, it's definitely, again, not super relatable, but very grounded. You know, like
I mean, yeah, he won so many awards for this. Like this was like his redemption movie.
After Mallrats bombed.
Yeah, and like I got to watch it again with some friends who've never seen this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Younger than me, but they're Gen Z. I guess I would say it.
Okay.
Like they're on the cusp of Gen Z and
Yeah.
millennials, like that weird thing. But yeah, having like watching it with them, and then in current present day, where like in the '90s, and I kind of talked to you about this offline too,
Mm-hmm.
where like back then, like people would say they swing both ways, or like I don't feel like I've ever heard the terms like bisexual or anything like that. But like having their perspective on it, like they saw they saw Joy Lauren Adams' character more as a bisexual than really a lesbian.
Right. But in the early 90s, it was very black or white.
That's the thing about the 90s. Is like
there was no shades of gray when it came to that.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why it was kind of nice to see that different perspective when watching this movie. But yeah, like again, like I have a poster over there of it, so it's like it's still like in my like they're two number ones that I'm talking about. But what I also loved about the movie is like how it was made, and like because I'm a big movie guy, like the behind the scenes of it, the commentary.
I was just gonna bring up the commentary. It was like, what do you do for not so special occasions? Use a fucking baseball bat? And like, if you listen to the commentary,
they screamed when that part happened. They're like, oh my god.
And in the commentary, Kevin Smith was like, he said like Ben Affleck was ad-libbing all over the fucking place, and I told him stop it, just do that. And he said that's the only one I left in, just so he would stop complaining that I was cutting all his ad-libs.
Yeah, that it was oh man, what was I gonna say? It was nice to see this movie at a different perspective, and also seeing it in a different age.
Yeah, I bet, man.
And I also quote this movie. I mean, quote all of his movies, but that last scene with him having them both there, and making that part, which I know you already know, maybe you guys don't know, but like they had to rehearse that a lot of fucking times because they didn't have enough film to finish the movie.
Yeah.
So they had to do it in one fucking take.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that part. I'm sure you do.
Mm-hmm.
But that was so fucking crazy to think like they had nothing to burn. They couldn't burn the film because they only had one shot to get this right.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about this movie is how the indie it got back to after making Mallrats.
Right.
Indie roots to it.
Yeah, Mallrats was supposed to be a big budget, not big budget, but a mainstream movie disguised as an indie movie.
Some of them thought that Banky was just gonna end up gay, which technically I guess he kind of is, because at the end of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, he's with Hooper.
That's right.
Remember?
Yeah.
Like so. But yeah, like fantastic movie. Like it could be my number one as well.
Spoilers, it is my number one. It is my favorite Kevin Smith movie, and there was
He said what was your number? Oh, Clerks
3 was my number 2. Yes, Chasing Amy is my number 1 favorite Kevin Smith movie.
Did I miss one? Because I said my number 2.
Yeah, I started. So this is my number 1, and now you're going to number 1 after this.
Oh, I started so you're saying you. Chasing Amy.
Chasing Amy is my number 1. Yeah. Chasing Amy is my number 1 movie. I don't know why it resonated with me so much when I first saw it, but maybe it was the tackling of the subject matter. Maybe it was the ambiguity of the relationship between Banky and Holden. Maybe it was Joy Lauren Adams being hotter than a fucking kitchen grease fire. It has a whole lot of like things that really, I don't know, like again, it's not, I can't relate to it. Maybe the friend aspect, or maybe the Banky Holden aspect I could relate to a little bit, but
yeah, I mean I could totally relate to that too.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not shocked that some of the friends that you watched it with just assumed Banky is gay, because like it comes across as
because Hooper says that himself too. Like that boy isn't ready to love you the way he thinks he loves you.
Right. And it's one of those things, like we talk about it with the Dante and Randall relationship. Like that is a deep, deep relationship, but it is not. It never feels like with Banky, he feels betrayed by Holden a lot in that movie, and like
Yeah,
he feels betrayed like somebody who is in a
almost taking away
relationship with him. Yeah,
his
yeah.
friendship or his
Hmm.
partnership with him.
And I don't, again, that's not like, again, not super relatable, but I think it was the subject matter and the way it was tackled at the time. And me being, younger, being in my teens and watching it, like, I don't know. It was just one of
Like
my favorite movies. It's like, you can't, it really is, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, that's the whole idea
that's the
of
whole
that
point.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like once relationships show up, with when you have two best friends, like it starts slowly drifting apart because they want to start their life with them and everything,
Yeah.
and like friendships will fade like that sometimes. Um, so watching that at a younger age, you can see that happening. Like
Hmm.
you know, like the friend that I thought would be my best friend until the end, like I don't talk to him anymore.
Yeah.
You know, um, back in high school, look at Brian.
Yeah.
Like I thought I was gonna be best friends with him forever.
Yeah. I had a friend like that in high school too. My buddy Nick, who, like, we didn't ever have a falling out. We just
Yeah,
drifted
same thing.
apart,
It's just
like, yeah, my buddy Nick, from high school, like we probably up to like 2005 ish. Um, yeah, man, like
that's
it's
kind of how I saw
insane.
me and
Like,
Brian.
Nick was in my fucking wedding. Like, that was my dude. That was my one of my best friends, and I'd known him since I was a freshman in high school. Met him on the first day of high school, and like, again, we didn't have a falling out. We never,
It's
um,
just people
yeah,
change.
it's we just
Life happens.
drifted apart. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just so weird because, again, like, being a big fan of this movie and then seeing that ending where they had drifted apart, I was like, I remember thinking, I was like, I would never fucking let that happen. That'll never
Yeah.
happen to me. Cut to 5-6 years later, and me and my best friend at the time, again, no negativity, no cross words, like, as far as us not being friends anymore, like, I'm sure he would still consider me a friend if I saw him today, because I saw him randomly at the fucking supermarket like 3 years ago, like right before pandemic and stuff. He was visiting his family who still live in Whittier, and I saw him and his dad at the supermarket. And I was like, holy
Oh
shit, Nick,
shit.
what is up? And like, we just not in contact, which is weird, but it happens. And I think now, and this was my favorite Kevin Smith movie then also, but I think now it's because there's more relatable aspects to this story now for me as an adult than there were for me as a teenager when I saw it. And there's some great fucking performances. The scene in the car is fucking heart-wrenching and heartbreaking because as a teenager,
I learned that entire monologue for a college acting
really,
class.
wow, dude, that's cool.
Yeah, I did that that monologue.
Yeah, it's so weird. And like I said, the ride you go on with Holden is like, in that scene specifically, it's like you can get, or you can see why, or understand, or see from his side why he's so fucking upset. But at the same time, you see it from Joey Lauren Adams' character's point of view. It's like, wow, this guy's being a fucking dick. Like, but at the same time, it's like, okay, like, I don't agree with you, but I see where you're coming from. Like,
he's not experienced.
Yeah. And we talked about the way Banky feels betrayed by Holden, like, as they're in a relationship. He had an unrealistic expectation of this woman that he doesn't really know that well, and he felt betrayed by her past that he had nothing to fucking do with. And it's like, what the? But again, it's like the duality of that character, because again, you don't feel for him, but you can see where he's coming from, but also see why he's absolutely fucking wrong in this situation. And
he's crossing lines.
Yeah, and then at the same time, from the other perspective, you feel for Joey Lauren Adams' character, because it's like, man, like, fucking,
she found her happiness, and he's being a dick about it.
And he's being a fucking complete dick about it. But at the same time, it's like, Maybe she wasn't as forthcoming about her past as she could have been, but again, that's not
But
something
like
she has to
it
do.
shouldn't matter.
Yeah, it shouldn't fucking matter. I agree. So, and it's again, like it's hard to talk in circles about it without, but you see where they're both coming from, but you see why they're both wrong at the same time. You choose one or the other, obviously, but it's so well written to where you can see, like, especially at the time, and especially when I saw this movie at the age I was when I saw this movie, it was really different to be able to see the black and the white and the shades of gray for all these characters. It's so well written and so well put together, and that's why it's my number one favorite Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah, and totally valid. You know, like I said, that would be my number one too, but I put Clerks 2 as my number one.
I am shocked that that's your number one. I am shocked that that's your number one. I came in today going, looking at my list right before you got to the house to get me, I was like, okay. I
agree. Number one.
I know that our number ones are exactly the same because you and I have had this is not the first time we've had a deep philosophical, in air quotes. I always forget that this is also audio and I need to say when I'm doing air quotes. A deep philosophical, air quotes, conversation about Chasing Amy. Like, I mean, that might have been one of the first like non-music related conversations we had when we realized we both loved Kevin Smith movies. Like, yeah, so this is not the first time. This is not new ground we're covering for us. I mean, you're hearing it for the first time, but
I mean, I could flip flop them. I could do that right now. I think it's still like it could change.
Yeah,
like it could easily change. Just because like these two movies, like, well, the reason I put it as number two is kind of the same reason as we're talking about with Clerks or with Chasing Amy. You know, about these two friends.
Yeah.
You know, during that time with Clerks 2 came out, you know, I was in that kind of like that same situation in a sense.
Right.
You know, which kind of a little bit mirrors the Chasing Amy relationship between Holden Banky and Randall and Dante.
Yeah.
Although Randall and Dante, we know we got a Clerks 3, it lasted much longer.
Obviously.
Yeah, so when that movie came out, and relating to movies is kind of the way I kind of rank my movies. So that's why I put it at number two, is because the conversation they have, you know, in the jail cell, the conversation they have when he talks about like why he likes going go-karting, you know, because it reminded me of a time where I used to, where I guess things didn't matter or something like that he says. You know, there's so many little things like that that Randall says where it just brings so much more humanity into him. Which I think in Clerks 3 didn't have enough of that. It had it, but I feel like it didn't have more of it, you know, because I felt like, and I know it was maybe like for plot driven reasons, like the part in Clerks 3 where they're in the hospital, when we talked about it in the review.
Don't fucking.
Yeah, like that part was like that felt kind of almost not necessarily out of character for Randall, but at the same time, it kind of felt like it.
Right.
You know, and I know we can go back and forth on this.
Oh no, I totally agree, and I think that's why, when we talked about Clerks again, Clerks 3, that's one of those moments where watching that movie, I was like, you cannot fucking come back from this, man, and I don't want you to act like this because I'm been invested into these characters for 30 years and I don't want to fucking hate you, man.
Like he pulled it back.
Yeah.
You know, like it was like he was saved by it. But at the same time, like I think the Randall from the Clerks 2 wouldn't have done that. I think he would have been more because like you said, like he's my best friend. Like, it's all about him. But that's why I kind of felt like I kind of pushed the movie down a bit on that scale.
Okay.
And that's another reason why I love Clerks 2 is because of that relationship.
Yeah.
I felt was more honest and strong. And it came at a time where I was kind of going through that shit with a friend. So it's like.
That was 05?
6.
06?
Yeah. Oh, I remember. It was 06.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because I got back from.
Okay.
That was my first trip from New York in July, and I think that movie came out August or September, because that's when me and
Well, that's what. Yeah, I was like, I saw it. What are you talking about? I saw it in fucking June. But I was the Clerks. It was like a Comic-Con screening thing.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I saw that shit in fucking.
You got
June.
to see it early. I did.
Yeah.
Because I remember when we got back, me and my roommate went to go watch it, and we're like, oh shit, and we walked by that.
Yeah,
that was the clown.
So 06 was the year that my daughter was born, which means like when that movie came out, I had known you for about like 6 or 7 months at that point.
Yeah, it was early.
And I think
we met officially. I think we met in 05, right?
Yeah. So okay, maybe almost a year. I would say that we knew each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, about probably maybe almost a year. But yeah, it was just one of those things where I do remember like
check the date stamp on that picture.
Yeah, I remember talking to you or trying to talk to you.
Chatted a few times because we saw each other all the time.
Yeah, I remember trying to talk to you about Clerks 2 and then forgetting that it hadn't come out yet. And I saw it early, and you were so jealous that I had saw it early. And there was a Q&A with Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the kind of the reason why I put that as my number one. Which was like I said, they're both number one. Amy and 2 are number one.
Yeah. There was a little time when I first made this list a couple weeks ago where Clerks 3 was above Amy. Like it's very close. And like I said when I talked
think
about
the third watch definitely made me push it down more.
Yeah. Like I don't know. The more I
which doesn't
watch
mean
it,
a thing,
right?
Because I love it.
I think the more I watch it, like I said, that's why I said like I think as time goes by, it may surpass Chasing Amy and stay there, just because even less than 6 months later and watching it 3 times, like the more I see it, the more and more the more things I love about it. And I totally understand why, if people don't like it, if you don't like the meta of it and making a movie about making a movie about making a movie, like I get it. I totally get it.
That didn't really bother me too much.
I know, but I know it bothered a lot of people that, and again, I don't want to.
I think it was because of the payoff. The payoff made it.
Yeah. And
good.
Like I don't want to make it seem like, oh, I'm better than you because I know more about this story, so I'm more invested in it. But like, it really, if you're deeply invested into this world and these characters, like it would be like me watching, a great episode of a TV show and then being like, oh, I mean, that's fine, but I don't know anything about the characters or the world or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody who watched every episode of that show and read interviews and listened to interviews would be like, this is why this is so, and it's like, that's how I feel. I get very defensive about Clerks 3 with people when they, I didn't like it. I was like, well, I want to say, well, you're a fucking idiot. But then I remember you can't talk to people like that. Let me try and explain why I think you're a fucking idiot.
Like, this is wrong.
Yeah. You're wrong, you're stupid, and you're wrong. But I really do feel like that later on down the line, if we revisit this, I think the only things that might change are Clerks 3 over Amy. And I think maybe even Mallrats over Clerks 1. I think that could possibly happen too.
Flip the script a little bit on this ranking stuff. Like if we were to rank moments, the Clerks 3 has the best moment of all time.
Yeah.
Next to number 2 being the one from Jay and Bob reboot.
Yeah.
With Affleck.
Yeah, I think that again, I don't want to talk about it, but that moment in Clerks 3 is just fucking
the way
fantastic.
They argued and everything, and the way Silent Bob says now stop recording.
Yeah, it's so good, man. I love that movie.
All right.
So yeah, those are our lists.
Yes.
The Viewist Universe rankings. Again, this won't be that long.
I don't know how long we went, but
about an hour.
Okay, we're good.
Maybe hour and 15. I don't know.
So that's I guess that's gonna be it. Let us know what you think. How wrong we are, or how right we are.
Yeah.
And what your list is, because we definitely want to see it, especially when it involves Kevin Smith.
Yeah. Man, I went down a weird rabbit hole after we recorded the Clerks 3 episode where I was like, I was like, yo, on the other podcast on such a we like, how often do we bring up Kevin Smith? And like, so just as far as like searching that, it wasn't that much, but I know you and I like would
Definitely
constantly bring him
yeah.
up a lot. And the one of the things that came up was right after he had his heart attack, and we talked about it. And again, fucking shocker, Mike almost cries on that episode too, even though the guy didn't fucking die, which is I even say there, like, it's so fucking weird. He didn't die, but it still was one of those weird things that just hit me a lot harder than I thought it would or should have, maybe. But
maybe
yeah,
they've met him a few times.
Yeah.
You know, how much we enjoy his media.
Yeah, I definitely feel like we were the right age at the right time for these movies. I think if we saw them, if we were any older, they wouldn't resonate as much as they do. I think we saw them at just the right time, you know?
That could be true. Yeah.
People say that about Tarantino. Like, people who are, you know, a little bit older than us were probably like people that were either just at the end of high school or just out of high school seeing those Tarantino movies for the first time, probably feel about him like the way we do about Kevin Smith. And it's and then they're not far removed from each other. They're pretty much at the same time. I think it's just different.
Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, I think, was 94.
Yeah. And like, this is gonna be weird to say, but it's different levels of maturity as far as subject matter. I think Tarantino comes off as more adult than
it was more about the shooting and the action.
And Kevin Smith movies definitely come off as more juvenile, like more man children and like, you know. So, but yeah, I'll stop rambling now. I love Kevin Smith and I love the movies.
Reservoir Dogs is 92.
Yeah,
I think 94 was fiction.
Yes, I think so. But yeah, I think that'll.
All right, that's gonna wrap us up. So thanks for sticking around. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Be sure to subscribe or not. It's up to you, really.
Hey, if you don't like us, pass it on to a friend so they can fucking be an agony just like you.
Look at these assholes.
Yeah, look at these idiots.
Like, put Clerks 2 as number 1. How fucking it has a fucking dance.
Dogmo is number 7. Yeah. But yeah, like again, we're wrapping up. So as always, be sure to check out Stoat Krow Komedy on Twitch and on Bandcamp, playing the sweet fucking music you're hearing right now. And yeah,
we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, catch you next time.